white, kind of the evolved mono black devotion deck that dips into white for some sturdier threats, and looks like it is not quite the same list. I know Charlie leaned really heavily on Banishing Light, and I do not see any of those in Ryan's main deck.
That's about that. Yeah, I mean, see the other cards. I know that Charlie's list was different. Like when I look at black-white devotion deck lists, you normally just see a splash for Obsidian, or excuse me, Blood Baron, and then some cards on the sideboard.
Yeah.
But we've got Obsidian, we've got a Sin Collector main deck here. He does have Blood Baron. You mentioned there's no Banishing Lights. Probably some sideboard cards that we'll get to in just a little bit here. But Brian's Constellation deck, Junk Constellation, Black Green, whatever the heck you want to call it, it's basically built around Eidolon of Blossoms, and if you can keep that play for really only like one turn, he can get going crazy with it. And just drawing a bunch of cards, replacing itself, and then if they kill it after he's drawn 2 or 3 cards, it's probably too late at that point.
Yeah, it's basically a harmonized that attacks for 2, I think.
Yeah.
And then if you get to keep it for 2 turns, then I don't know what it becomes, an Enter the Infinite or something?
Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
We saw Kevin Gerhardt do that a little bit earlier in a feature match when he was sitting at 5-0. Game 1, he just played Nylon on turn 3. It didn't die, but his opponent certainly did. And then the other games, well, the second game he didn't draw an Eidolon, he got crushed, and the third game was Eidolon died, and he got crushed again. So this deck, it seems like it might be a little weak when it doesn't have Eidolon, but I don't think that's like 100%. It seems like it that way sometimes.
Yeah, I think the card Eidolon of Blossoms kind of had a little bit of a slow burn there. People noticed it, of course, but people didn't really notice it.
Yeah.
I think the Pro Tour kind of tipped everybody's hand. This is a card we're gonna see a lot of in the coming year, I think.
I assume that's the case, especially as it being a card that kind of gets around Abrupt Decay and some other things like that, replaces itself right away. If it does stay in play, things do kind of spiral out of control. When you look at it, it just looks like a 4-mana 2/2, but there's a lot going on there.
It kind of, particularly because it rolls so well into the Courser of Krufix Sylvan Caryatid package.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict right now that that kind of base green mid-range-ish shell rolls into next year's standard in the same way that like Sphinx's Revelation and Jace rolled into this one.
Okay.
Just like the default kind of configuration of this block, I think.
We got a Brain Maggot here from Braun-Duin. He did have to take 2 to cast it, playing the Overgrown Tomb untap. You see a Blood Baron of Scopa. You've got a Hero's Downfall, a Lifebane Zombie, a Devour Flesh, an Ultimate Price, and 2 copies of Orzhov Guildgate. So Forsburg is going to be off to a very slow start this game.
Yeah, those Guildgates are rough. This hand kind of illustrates one of the main concerns with this style of card. Brain Maggot basically is just a weird tempo-y. It's like a remand here. If you take anything other than one of the removal spells, it's just going to get removed. But of course, Ryan can just remove it with whatever removal spell doesn't get taken.
Yeah.
So no way to like permanently get rid of any of these cards with the Brain Maggot. Although, as you mentioned, these 2 lands coming into play tapped are putting Ryan in a position where a remand style card is very backbreaking here.
Yeah, this is definitely true. You see Ryan taking a couple looks at that card just to make sure he knows what it does. For the old school crowd out there, it's Mesmeric Fane that happens to be an enchantment. That's pretty much it. As Forsberg does draw his card, he's going to play an Orzhov Guildgate and pass the turn back. We don't get to see Brain Maggot get in for 1 damage much, but it's going to take the opportunity now.
The Brain Maggot beats.
Forsberg's going to go down to 19. We'll see what Brian's follow-up is going to be. It's going to be a Sylvan Caryatid and no 3rd land. All right.
That means his hand's full of gas, so that's not the worst.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is all spells.
Yeah.
Forsberg going to play that other copy of Orzhov Guildgate, see if he wants to fire off a removal spell right now or wait. You see he's definitely thinking about it.
He decides he can wait. There's really nothing in Brian's deck that can punish him for waiting. Although Ryan doesn't necessarily know that. This is not by any means an established archetype.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he was on his phone last round watching the deck tech.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of talk around the room about Brian playing this deck and Kevin Gerhardt having a nice performance with it as well.
This is certainly the deck of the tournament.
In for 1 comes Brain Maggot again. It's a tie score. Brian's going to follow this up with a Courser. Top card is a Swamp. That'll help.
Hey. Look, he's candy.
Going to gain 1 up to 19. Now the next card is, that mana blue.
Nice. So from stuck on 2 lands to just all the mana. No worries.
No problem here at all. There's
just took 1 turn.
Going to take care of the Courser. Your prediction about Courser and Caryatid is probably going to come true. I don't know if Eidolon's going to be part of it. Wouldn't surprise me if it is, of course. But we're going to see Courser and Caryatid for a long time.
Yeah, Eidolon is maybe not the kind of the actual 3rd piece of the triad per se, but
it wouldn't surprise me if it was.
No, it's certainly not. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Like that's what's so impressive about that package of 3 cards is like you could take away any one of them. The other 2 are still really good.
Yeah. Lifebane's not going to show up to the party. The group here for BBD is an Underworld Connections. You got another Courser, along with a Doomwake Giant, a Banishing Light, and Eidolon of Blossoms. Forsberg is going to record that information and then make a decision. He can decide between the Courser or the Eidolon.
Yeah. Good news for Ryan, he can see right here that Doomwake Giant will not be bringing any Doom next turn. He knows the top card, I believe.
Yes, he does.
I don't remember what it was, but I knew it was not a land.
It's not a land.
It was the Mana Bloom, that's what it was, yeah. So, and presumably he could, Brian could play the Underworld Connections, get a card deeper that way, but either way, Lifebane Zombie at least gets to attack for 3.
This is true.
Before it awakes to its doom.
There goes the Eidolon before passing the turn back. So
Sure.
Brian is going to draw that copy of Mana Bloom. And we'll see what Courser reveals. Presumably he's going to play that. I guess he could play Underworld Connections this turn and draw a card. It's not a lock that he'll play Courser this turn, so we'll see how he wants to navigate this particular turn.
Yeah, this is a weird spot. He very much wants to get that Doomwake Giant into play, but there's no really powerful play that gets him there even next turn. He can just play Mana Bloom.
Yeah.
That's really underwhelming here.
The thing that's interesting about Brian's deck is it's just like a lot of 2-card combos. I use combo very, very,
2-card synergies.
Yeah, 2-card synergies is probably better. It's, Doomwake Giant with enchantments. You've got the Courser plus Temple interaction, or Courser plus Underworld Connections interactions. Of course, Eidolon Blossoms is good with every single card in the deck. Eidolon Blossoms with, Mana Bloom. So there's like a lot of ways to gain incremental advantages that you can just overwhelm your opponent with.
There we go. Found that land.
That wasn't too tough.
Nope.
There's a Temple, a little scry action here.
And is not going to do us the favor of showing us.
If he keeps it on top, it's probably a good one.
Yeah, it could be a land.
Oh, that's good enough, right?
I think I would be happy with any land that comes into play untapped here. This is going to give him an opportunity to play Doomwake Giant next turn and activate his Underworld Connections.
In for 3 is where Forsburg is going to start. Braun-Duin is going to move down to 16. Forsburg picked up a pack rat for the turn, but since he knows that there is a Doomwake Giant in Brian's hand, probably not interested in casting that.
No great plays here. Has the Hero's Downfall still. He can sit on that and then get the Doomwake Giant once it enters play. That's kind of the classic bad deal.
Yeah.
Killing the Flame Tongue Kavu after it's already killed your thing.
Yeah. That's a pretty big Flame Tongue Kavu.
Yeah. Although to be fair, you're killing the Lifebane Zombie after it already got your thing too, so we're like even up. Yeah. In
theory. It doesn't feel like it's even, but it is.
Yeah.
Temple Garden is what he did to keep on top, and that's what he does draw. So Brian does have the ability this turn to play Temple Garden untapped, cast the Doomwake Giant to kill the Lifebane Zombie if he wants to.
Yeah.
And then still activate Underworld Connections.
And he knows about the Hero's Downfall, but I don't think I care. I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah. This is an attack for 1. Brain Maggot is just, dealing.
I know.
Look at it go to work.
I've had BBD in the feature match area several rounds this tournament.
Okay.
Not always on camera, but often on our off-camera features. Every single time I walk by his table, he's got 2 Brain Maggots tapped.
Yep. It must be nice.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it, but he swings for 1 and sometimes 2 on the regular with that Brain Maggot.
I don't expect to see Brain Maggot deal very much damage over its lifespan, given how good and how large creatures are nowadays, but it's getting some work done here.
Well, once Doomwake Giant does its thing, who's blocking?
That's true. Brian really trying to figure out what he wants to do this turn. He's going to start by activating Underworld Connections first to get some more information.
Okay.
Picked up a copy of Courser. Now he's going to play the Temple Garden untapped. This is 4 mana. Let's make it 5. There's Doomwake Giant.
There we go.
Constellation Trigger will be placed on the stack. There goes the Lifebane Zombie.
Out. And I like this play, even though he does know about that Hero's Downfall that is almost certainly going to get rid of Doomwake Giant before it causes further damage. The big thing here is BBD has an Underworld Connections live and going. That is going to take away this game, assuming that Brian has enough life to play with.
Yeah.
And Lifebane Zombie, funny choice of words. Well named, that Lifebane Zombie. Takes away your life in 3-point increments so that you cannot draw cards in 1-point increments.
It's time for a Devour Flesh. Do you want to lose your mana, or do you want to lose the Brain Maggot and give Ryan his card back?
And I think we're past the point where Sylvan Caryatid matters all that much.
Yeah, I think, with Courser in the hand, Underworld Connection is your card drawing engine. You've cast your most expensive spell. I agree with you. I think the Sylvan Caryatid can go, and that's exactly what BBD does decide. Godless Shrine's going to come into play untapped. Here's a pack rat before passing the turn back.
Yeah, plus if you sacrifice the Brain Maggot, what are you going to attack for 1 with?
That's true. You can even attack again.
Yeah.
Oof. Trade with a pack rat, that's the best it's going to get.
That's
Doom Wakey.
There will be no trading. You might offer it, honestly, but no. Get out.
Doomwake's going to come in, take care of Packrat. In for one comes the Maggot. This is the most damage it's ever dealt in its entire life, as BBD does pass the turn back over to Forsburg, who does draw a land and a Blood Baron. So, all kidding aside, that's going to change some things here.
It might. So now BBD has the tall order of, can you cast 4 enchantments this turn?
That might be tough.
It might be.
Here's a Courser. That's 1. Elspeth is pretty good.
Pretty good. Not an enchantment. Pretty good, though. It's an answer to Blood Baron.
That's certainly true. It is pretty good. It also takes care of Doomwake Giant as well, but I think that getting Blood Baron off the table is much more important. Brian also deciding right now, I think if he wants to draw a card with Underworld Connections, and the reason being is that he could get Thoughtseized here and loses Elspeth.
Definitely. I think I would prefer to keep that Elspeth on top of the deck where it's safe, although he is going to get to extract a little value out of that Course of Krufix.
Good scry, get to gain a life. Sylvan Charioteer, that's probably going to the bottom. It's not 100% lock, but I imagine it's probably going to go to the bottom.
And he's going to consider his options, though.
Again, Brian's hand right now, he does have the Elspeth, the Mana Bloom, and 2 copies of Banish Light, and another Courser as well. So there goes the Charioteer. Top card now is a 3rd copy of Banish Light. Banish Light probably still fine against this deck. It's just the situation hasn't presented itself for it to be good yet this game.
It just happens that the one reasonable threat in play has protection from Banishing Light, but that won't always be the case.
See if Forsburg was able to find a Thoughtseize to take care of Elspeth, because that's really the only thing that's stopping him this game. He's actually doing quite well for himself, all things considered, as here comes the Blood Baron.
Yeah. Now, we said earlier that, that Sylvan Charioteer didn't matter that much. Like, BBD had plenty of mana to work with. He could just throw it away, no big deal. That's not even remotely true, really. Like, he has a handful of action.
Yep.
You know, a couple more lands in play would be very, very useful for him. So, that's kind of how Courser of Krufix works when it's left unchecked.
Of course.
You end up just, you draw nothing but relevant things.
I think if anyone watched the Pro Tour, they saw a nice demonstration of that, of just how completely absurd that card is. Hero's Downfall's the top card here for Brian. So we're going to see if he wants to try to cast Elspeth or not. He's going to start by drawing a card and going down to 10. That's a Mutavault. That is convenient.
Yeah, it is. Did we play a land this turn?
We have not played one yet.
Okay. So the objective here would be play Elspeth and an enchantment of some kind.
If possible.
Is it, though?
And he may not, truthfully, he may not care that much about Blood Baron. Here's a Doomwake trigger. And the reason for that is just because, he's got 2 chump blockers out there. He can actually just make a double block now, too, with the 2 copies of Courser. Gonna have a Pack Rat activation in response to the Doomwake trigger.
Ah, okay.
So Pack Rats are currently 1/1s. Brian going to very quickly play that Mutavault. 2 triggers from Coursers are going to gain some life. There's another Doomwake on top of his deck. Does he have another enchantment to play is the question.
He does have...
Oh, he's got the Mana Bloom. We knew that.
Yeah, there we go, yeah. I was going to say, he has several Banishing Lights, not a white source to cast them, but the Mana Bloom will do.
I was looking at the exact same thing, too. Here's a Pack Rat token that's going to die. What a nice judge.
Here's Drogon. Get out.
Mana Bloom going to come in. The trigger from Doomwake Giant is going to take care of those. Somebody say Brain Maggot wants to attack again?
Get in there. I love when a Brain Maggot attacks.
Then you've enjoyed this match quite a bit.
I sure have.
Oh, now we're getting in for a bunch of damage. 4, 5, 6, that's a lot.
Yeah. How about sentences you never thought you'd say? I love when a Brain Maggot attacks.
You said it, not me.
I did. I sure did.
Forsburg's going to untap, draws another copy of Blood Baron, but he can't, I don't think he can safely deploy that just because he knows there's an Elspeth over there.
Yeah, he knows about the Elspeth. He has to assume it's coming. Sure would be nice if Sin Collector could get rid of it, but that's not how that card works.
I don't think Sin Collector... Okay, it's going to grab the Downfall. I was going to say, I don't know if it has anything to grab. You see the 3 Banishing Lights and the Elspeth in the grip here for Brian. One thing you kind of noticed, too, when we're watching this matchup is that Forsburg's deck actually has a lot of 1 toughness creatures.
Yeah.
So Doomwake Giant has actually been surprisingly good in this matchup. And it also provides a pretty healthy clock as well.
Yep. Yeah, Doomwake Giants... Brian had some stellar things to say about
I know he loves it. I know he loves it.
Yeah.
So Brian's going to add some more mana to Mana Bloom. And the reason for that, you saw him add mana on his turn and then on Ryan's turn, so that he can pick it back up.
Yeah.
And now Doomwake Giant's on top of his deck. He also has 1 in his hand. And the reason for that is just because he wants to be able to trigger Constellation as often as he possibly can.
Yep. I think we are approaching the point where he's getting pretty close to actually being able to machine gun down even a Blood Baron.
Yeah, I think we're like there right now, right? Because this comes into play, it triggers both of them.
With 2 of them especially.
Yeah, now he plays Mana Bloom. That triggers both of them again.
That will do it.
And now all of a sudden your Blood Baron has to kindly leave.
Yep.
And Ryan Forsburg says, I'll leave this game as well. Braun-Duin is going to win game number 1 here with Junk Constellation up a game over Ryan Forsburg playing Black-White mid-range. Blood Baron was a minor problem for Doomwake Giant.
Yeah, maybe wouldn't even go that far.
We're going to take a look at the sideboards here really quickly. You have Ryan Forsberg's in front of you. I'll let you begin.
I do. Ryan Forsburg has 3 Duress, 1 Glare of Heresy, 1 Deicide. Are there some enchantments in BB these days?
A few.
I think Deicide's coming in.
Yeah.
2 Doomblade, 3 Pharika's Cure, 1 Sin Collector, 1 Lifebane Zombie, 2 Erebos, God of the Dead, and 1 Blood Baron. That's not a lot to work with, honestly. The Doomblades are reasonable.
They're fine.
Yeah. I mean, they don't deal with the Giant, but they do deal with Eidolon. I think Eidolon is as big a problem.
I think Eidolon is worth.
Yeah.
I think you actually have to invest slots in making sure that Eidolon doesn't get out of control.
Yes, I agree. I think that Deicide cannot come in fast enough. I think the Lifebane Zombie, likewise, is a very easy inclusion. And I'm not that excited about any of the others, honestly. Again, maybe 2 Doomblade, maybe the Blood Baron. It wasn't even that good, we saw.
I mean, I think there are situations where Blood Baron will be good. Like, I think it's problematic. I think it's reasonable to bring more of them in. I don't think it's, a home run like would be in the Mono Black Mirror, but I think it's still okay in this deck.
Sure.
And in this matchup.
Yeah, the real question is, like, how many slots can we clear here? Like, are there cards that are just big stinkers? I see 1 Sin Collector. That card is really unimpressive here. The Bile Blights don't do very much. There are answers to Eidolon. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, they kill Brain Maggot or whatever, but yeah,
Sure.
By and large, I agree with you. Elspeth token, sure. Nothing crazy, though.
Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah, it doesn't look like a ton of slots that we love wiggle room anyway.
Do you like Devour Flesh?
Well, no, but again, you kind of have to have it.
Sure.
I mean, just using it on kind of on tempo on Sylvan Carriage is a pretty big deal. I do actually like the Devour Flesh quite a bit here, I think.
Other side of things, 2 Orbs of Echo's Council, an Underworld Connections, a Golgari Charm, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Bob Blights, 3 Nyx Fleece Ram, and 2 copies of Doomblade. The interesting thing here, you take a look at Brian's removal in his main deck. He's got 2 Abrupt Decays, 3 Heroes Downfalls, and then I'll put an asterisk next to Elspeth Sun's Champion and Doomwake Giant. He also has 4 Banishing Lights. The reason I mention this is because the 2 Bio Blights are interesting on how much does he actually care about Pack Rat in this matchup from the opponent. Like, does he need to board into more ways to take care of that? We watched that particular game with the way that the game was set up, Pack Rat did not matter at all.
No.
And so I don't know if that's always going to be the case. Of course, trying to 1-for-1 through Pack Rat is not a realistic thing to do. I think we all know that from watching the previous standard formats, and that's why BioBlight was so helpful when it was printed. But given the fact that Brian does have Doomwake Giant and this card drawing engine, I think he can work his way towards being able to take care of Pack Rat. But he also did see Lifebane Zombie and some other things that may be worth killing with BioBlight.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is Pack Rat against this deck? It's like a 5 or a 6 or something. I don't know. It's not that big a deal, but it's still worth killing.
Sure.
And yeah, I think as you said, Lifebane Zombie, we know that's coming. We can reasonably expect certainly Mutavault, but possibly Night Veil Spectre maybe.
Yeah.
There are enough incidental targets that Elspeth actually. I think it's reasonable to expect Elspeth out of a Black-White mid-range deck.
Okay.
So you get that same value of killing the tokens, so you can attack through. Yeah, I think BioBlight is worth bringing in here.
So 2 of those presumably come in. I don't think Nyx Fleece Ram is all that impressive in this matchup. Doomblade's going to stay on the board. Thoughtseize, I think in some numbers is going to come in. I don't know if it's going to be all 4, but I expect to see at least some come in.
Yeah.
The additional connections is good in this type of matchup. And I think that opposite that probably has to join the party. Brian doesn't leave home without it anyway.
It's just here as a mascot, probably?
Yeah, but mostly. It's
Sure.
really out of place in this deck, which I think is really funny. It's like, hey, look at this sweet enchantment deck I have, and 2 copies of Orbs of that.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, the mana's good enough to do it, I guess.
Yeah, may as well.
When you have Mana Bloom, it fixes everything. As we are underway here in game number 2, Forsburg starts off with a Temple, as does Brian. Going to scry the card to the top before passing the turn back.
Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to talk to Brian about those 2 Obsidettes in the sideboard. My guess is that they are there as a threat you can ramp to that is not Supreme Verdictable. That would be my interpretation.
It's time for a Thoughtseize. You do see BioBlight. He did bring that in. 2 copies of Eidolon Blossoms, a Mana Bloom, a Hero's Downfall, a Temple Garden, and it looks like an Overgrown Tomb is the other card. It certainly does produce green and black mana. It might be a Temple, but it's not a card that Forsburg can take with a Thoughtseize, so it's decision-making time. Ooh, is he going to... No. No.
I mean, if he can't, yeah, he's insulated from a single Thoughtseize in terms of keeping Eidolon Blossoms off the table.
Sure.
So maybe Ryan's hand is just very, very threat dense.
Well, you said things that I didn't expect to say on camera. Thoughtseize your Mana Bloom is right up there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's right up there.
Yeah, that's very questionable.
It's not a horrible decision given the context. There it goes.
Yeah, boom.
Thoughtseize your Mana Bloom
Right.
has just happened.
Let's time walk you.
Brian going to take a draw.
Sense.
It's a courser.
I mean, I guess maybe Brian just never finds another land. You know, maybe that's the play here. Just
Yeah, I mean, that play makes perfect sense. Like, you know, Brian would play a Mana Bloom here on turn 2 for 1, because he plays an Overgrown Tomb tapped now, and then the next turn he plays the next land untapped, and then he casts, there's a Lifebane Zombie. Then he plays the Eidolon, the Mana Bloom would trigger back, and then that engine's online.
Yeah.
So it makes sense on why Ryan Forsburg would want to take that card.
yeah. Now if he had Lifebane Zombie, I definitely would lean more towards Thoughtseizing one Eidolon and then Lifebaning the other.
Sure.
There. But he might have just drawn it. It's kind of hard to say what's going on here.
Lifebane took care of that course, so we'll see what the follow-up play is after attack from Forsburg. Brian's going to go down to 17.
And interestingly there, Brian had, he has the Bile Blight as well.
Yeah.
I saw a Hero's Downfall. It's like, just chose not to take 2, but is not choosing to take 3. So we're good there.
Underworld Connections will be the play before passing the turn back. Bile Blight's going to clear that up.
Yeah, Bile Blight actually has all sorts of utility in this matchup. I'm more than happy with some of that card.
Yeah. It's weird to see that as like a sideboard card.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, it feels like this main deck card that people are playing 2 of, and, you know, how much utility they have in the sideboard. It's way more than I think people think.
Yeah, well, and I think that cards like that, they seem universal, but it's more, you're not leaving it in your sideboard for that one matchup where it's insane so much as you are putting it in your sideboard because of that one matchup where it's completely dead.
Yeah. Brian just plays a copy of Underworld Connections on his Temple Garden, passes the turn back. It'll be interesting to see if I think, you know, he took a moment here to figure out which land he wants to put it on.
Yeah.
He's got 2 green-black lands, and he has, you know, 1 green-white land. Is it better to have it on a green-black land or a green-white one? The white in his deck is really just a splash.
Yeah, I think the Hero's Downfall is what tells him to put it on the white source.
So this is a copy of Pack Rat before passing.
Does find the other land, so this gives him the opportunity then to Downfall plus activate.
It's a good turn. Yeah, I like that turn.
Yeah.
Now the question, of course, is does he activate now or does he activate on Forsberg's end step? Does he want to get the more information before he makes this decision or not? Because presumably he's going to be priced into casting Hero's Downfall this turn no matter what. So is there a reason to activate now or not is the question.
Probably not. Yeah, and Thoughtseize is the reason not to.
Yeah. And Brian is just going to cast Hero's Downfall after playing the forest, passing the turn, and then he will activate Underworld Connections on Forsberg's end step so that he can actually be a little Thoughtseize proof. Forsberg's going to play a Temple. He'll take a look at the top card of his deck, consult the hand. You just see a Doomblade. There's also a Blood Baron over there. Obzad is the card that he's actually looking at right now.
Finds Obzad. I think kept it, so. Obzad is not an easy card for BBD to deal with, particularly having pulled the trigger on that one Hero's Downfall.
Yeah. And the one thing here is Forsberg kept Obsidat. When you take a look at his mana, he's a land away.
Oh, true.
You know, he does have, you know, he has 2 dual lands in Temple of Silence, and actually 2 copies of Temple of Silence, and then he has a Swamp, and then he has 2 Mutavaults. So he's 1 land away, but it's so powerful he decided to keep the card on top of his deck.
Yeah. He has plays. You know, of course, he has the Blood Baron, so he'll have plenty of things to do in the meantime.
Temple of Plenty of the top card here. Brian going to gain a life from the Courser. Going to take a look at the top card from the Scry. It is another copy of Temple of Plenty. Going to decide what he wants to do with that. Don't forget he also does have an Underworld Connections that he can activate at any moment. And it looks like he doesn't care about that card, so we'll take a look at the next one, and that is another copy of Mana Bloom, which he has 1 in his hand as well.
Yeah. So, heard a lot of hype from Brian about Mana Bloom. Yeah. crucial cog in the machine. Scolded Gerhard for considering cutting 1.
I was there for that conversation.
Yeah. When you have access to 2 of them, it feels like a card you don't necessarily want 2 of.
It feels like a good 3 of to have in this deck.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of the actual numbers of it, yeah, 3 sounds good.
Like, I want to draw 1 every game. I do not want to draw a second one.
Yeah. BBD would disagree with you.
I mean, I think there are times.
Yeah,
there are times when you want to draw a second one.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doom waking someone or idolizing someone. Don't get me wrong, but there are definitely some diminishing returns there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is one of those cards that, like, you don't play 4 because you'd like to draw 2 so much as you play 4 because you really want that first one. And yeah, that is an attempt that is not actually legal.
We're gonna stop this game. That's for sure.
That needs to be intervened, and we.
No, this is an Obsidat free zone.
Yeah.
Yep. And Brian, you think that Brian would know better?
You would.
Given his history with those, you think that he would know better?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, proper threats are kind of harder to keep track of that way. Like, your players often kind of get in the zone where they look at what lands the opponent has available and they think, like, okay, well, can he cast Hero's Downfall?
Yeah.
How far is he away from casting Wrath of God this turn? But how far is he away from casting random 5/5 Duder? That doesn't register as much.
No.
So.
But if I can't play this Mythic Rare, I'll play this. If I can't play that Mythic Rare, I'll play this one. Here's the Blood Baron. Try to beat that then.
Yeah. Reasonable.
So Braun-Duin does draw a card. He activated connections, picked up a Mana Bloom. You see the top card of his deck now is a copy of Temple Garden.
Here's an interesting question. Presumably, yeah, of course, assuming no like foul intent on Ryan Forsburg's part, which we don't think there's any reason to. He obviously thought that he could cast Obsidian that turn. Would he have kept it on top if he had known that he couldn't?
That's a real good question.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really good question. I actually don't know the answer to that question either. I do think that Obsidian is so powerful against Brian's deck. Like, if I am in Forsburg's situation and I'm working with, perfect knowledge like I am here in the booth, given that I know the context of Brian's deck, I would keep it. It's so good against him.
Oh, if he could cast it that turn, that's a huge play.
Yeah.
A likely game-winning one, I would think.
First, we're going to take a look at Doomweight Giant yet again, as that is on its way here soon.
Lifebane Zombie is like crap.
Yeah. I did so good this game.
Yeah. Oh, the Lifebane Zombie did plenty of work. I mean, it's chipped away, too.
There is a Thoughtseize. I guess this is worth casting when you know your opponent has an Obsidian. There's also a Doomblade and a Hero's Downfall over there, so Forsburg's got a pretty good hand.
Yeah. Those removal spells are awkward. They're going to hold BBD back quite a bit there.
I wonder if, man, so in this situation, if you're Brian, what do you take? Like, I think that now that you've seen Doomweight Giant on the top of your deck, it's pretty important that that's almost your game plan to get rid of this Blood Baron.
Maybe.
So you may have to take Hero's Downfall when you don't want to and just hope that your opponent doesn't draw the necessary land to cast Obsidian, which, I mean, I don't know if that's a game-winning play, but that might be the strategy you have to employ given, the texture of your hand and your opponent's hand.
Yeah. The issue there is that, it's not like, we need to fade a draw step. It's not like if, Ryan needs to find the land to cast Obsidian now or never. This situation is going to play out over several turns. Making that gamble is basically saying, like, okay, you will never find a way to cast Obsidian in this game.
Sure.
And that is extraordinarily unlikely.
Oh, Brian is doing pretty well for himself now. So he plays the Mana Bloom for 0, draws a card from the Eidolon trigger. The Doomweight Giant goes to his hand. Hero's Downfall's on top of his deck. So Hero's Downfall's the answer he's looking for the Obsidian.
Sure.
And he has an Elspeth in his hand to take care of the Blood Baron.
Yeah, okay. We're in fine shape.
So the one card I didn't think he was actually going to take was the Doomblade, and that's the one he selected. And I mean, that was obviously a cognizant decision to take that card.
Yeah, didn't know about the Hero's Downfall at the time. So kind of mised there. Found what he was looking for.
Got where he's trying to get.
Yeah.
And Underworld Connections activation here for Forsburg is going to draw him a card. It was just a Swamp, however. Does still have that Hero's Downfall, does have that Obsidian. There is the Swamp. However, he cannot cast Obsidian again. Those Mutavaults kind of making things a little bit difficult. This is going to come into the red zone again.
Yeah, tricky, those Mutavaults. Causing trouble for both opponents and players themselves.
Yes. An attack here for 7. The question is it time for Brian to chump block? Because he knows he can't double block because of the Hero's Downfall. So is it time to chump block? Is it time to let his Eidolon of Blossoms go? I'm sure he wants to leave this engine online. And the reason I say Eidolon of Blossoms is because I actually think that Corsair is more important just because of the life gain.
Yeah,
at this point.
I agree, particularly with those Mutavaults sitting in play.
You see, Brian, I don't think he wants to, lose this card. It's so important to his deck.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not about the Eidolon advantage. It's about not dying.
Yeah, this feels so wrong, but I believe it is the correct play. You're right.
So Brian at 7, gonna untap. Mana Bloom is gonna go back to the grip. Hero's Downfall to the hand as well. Doomweight Giant on top of the deck.
Hey, we have another one.
Temple Garden in hand, that can gain him a life. As he has not played a land yet this turn. Also looking at Elspeth.
So we're in a weird spot here. He can play Elspeth first, get rid of the Blood Baron, which saves him a little bit of damage, but it exposes the Elspeth, the Lifebane Zombie. Whereas if he does it the other way around, he gets to keep his Elspeth, presumably, but that's a little more dangerous.
I would agree.
And by a little more dangerous, he might actually just be dead to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I look at it, because you can activate the 2 Mutavaults and cast his removal spell. Well, he's one mana short from doing that, so BBD is like, can I make the greedy play? BBD is a man who loves the greedy play.
He would fess up to that.
Yes, he would.
But he's going to try to figure out the best play right now. And it's actually a pretty tough spot to be in. The problem here is that his spells that are going to have an impact on this game are so expensive.
Yeah.
Elspeth is 6 mana. Doomwake Giant is 5 mana. You know, he would like to play Doomwake Giant and multiple spells in one turn, but he just can't do that right now.
Yep.
And he also can't do something like Doomwake Giant set up for a big turn next turn.
Yeah, not enough mana to actually go nuts with that Doomwake Giant.
Going to start by playing Temple Guard and make sure that he gets his life. Going to go up to 8. Now he's going to tap 5.
Yeah, I think you've just got to lead with the Giant here.
I mean, it seems like he just wants to get past this point in the game, I think, is the best way to put it. Like, he plays Doomwake Giant, it's going to kill Lifebane Zombie, and it's going to die to Hero's Downfall,
yeah.
Presumably. Like, I guess there is a world where Courser is what dies to Hero's Downfall. You know, because Blood Baron has pro-black, so
sure.
it can attack past the Giant.
Yeah.
That world definitely exists. Might be going with Elspeth now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a very much a gray area here. Like, I have no idea what's right here. And this is not a deck that Brian has been, you know, playing for a long time. I'm willing to believe Brian is not completely sold on that decision yet.
Like the tough thing here is, like, if Forsburg had just killed that Courser right away,
yeah.
Brian would be at 7. Mm-hmm. And then he could just kill him right now with the 2 Mutavaults and the Lifebane. So that may have been a mistake. I'm not sure if that's actually true.
I mean, nah, I don't think it is.
Like, hindsight now, you know, you see how things played out. It's like, oh, I can get him to 1 and not 0. You know, is he going to lose the game because of that?
I mean, he's still in fantastic shape.
This is true.
Yeah, 1 Mutavault can pick off Elspeth. The other attackers can drop BBD to 3. He knows about Doomwake Giant, I believe.
Yep.
And that's good. That's actually problematic. So
yeah, this is a problem too.
Yeah, Obsidian on the other hand, that solves a lot of problems too. Yeah,
so Red's going to gain 2. More importantly, Brian, as in Brian Braun-Duin, is going to lose 2. He's going to go down to 6. Interesting thing now is, does your Lifebane go after Elspeth or just go upstairs?
I would go after Elspeth.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I can definitely see an argument for just, you know, hitting him and then just trying to close out the game a little bit faster. Just cut 1 turn off the clock. Might not be necessary, though.
Yeah, well, we get BBD to 6 that way. I think you have to assume that you're winning the game as long as your Obsidian sticks, right?
Okay.
So you basically have to play as if BBD has a removal spell for the Obsidian, because you're going to win if he doesn't. So the alternative there would be, like, I think he has to worry about things like Doomwake Giant coming down, kind of putting a stop to things otherwise. Basically, if you're assuming that the Obsidian is going to at some point die, you really would like there to be not an Elspeth in play in that world.
Sure. Brian's tapping 5. Now he's on tapping 5. He wants to cast Doomwake Giant, and he is. Going to trigger Constellation, take care of that. He's also got the Mana Bloom and Hero's Downfall. Maybe he's going to try to bluff a removal spell here.
I mean, has to have one. Doesn't have to have one. Doomwake Giant actually holds off Obsidian just fine.
Well, the issue, like, Obsidian comes in, he goes down to 4, then he can just fire both Mutavaults and attack with all 3 of his creatures and kill him. So in theory, he actually has to have a removal spell.
True.
But I mean, Forsburg also has to be willing to pull the trigger on doing those things, like making those attacks. He's going to start by drawing a card to get some information.
Yep. And unfortunate for BBD that he only has the 2 black sources. I think that this would have been a much easier sell if he could have cast Doomwake Giant and still left up 2 black to represent the Bile Blight that he'd already cast.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't know what removal spell you actually have to worry about there, out of 1 black source and 1 white source.
Forsburg comes to the correct conclusion, fires up the Mutavaults, and gets in. And he's going to win that game. We'll get that camera fixed for you guys at home. Don't worry, it's not a blackout here in Indianapolis. But we're going to be playing a 3rd one here in just a moment for you guys, that's for sure.
Wins game 2 and just immediately, I'm out.
Yep.
Just vanished.
That was too easy. With my mono black deck, a little splash of white, that was just easy breezy. While we do work on that camera, we definitely want to talk about our new promo here. We've got our creature collection I know you're in-house in Roanoke. I'm out in Seattle, live in my own little world. But the people who design these in-house do a fantastic job. Of course, this is the third one of this series. Of course, we've got our Squirrel Storm pins on as we do every weekend. But now you do see the Acorn Mystic. We got the playmat, the dice bag, the deck box, the sleeves. You get 2 tokens whenever you do sign up for a Legacy Open here at the Star City Games Open Series, and these become available June 13th, right around Columbus time.
Yeah, look at this little guy. Just look at him. Doesn't he put a smile on your face?
See, I hate Stoneforge Mystic.
Well, yeah.
But I like this.
You wouldn't have hated it if it
looked like that.
Yeah,
No,
if it was a squirrel
no,
instead.
that would be great.
Like, this little guy could get away with murder. Yeah, I joked last round. They would not have banned him in Standard. I mean, seriously. They would have been like Acorn Mystic, did you break Standard? You're like, no. And then they would have been like, it must have been mean Mr. Primeval Titan then. That's how that would have went down.
I would have been cool with them banning Primeval Titan.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
despise that card. So that would have been awesome. That would have been awesome if that happened.
Yeah.
But again, you guys do see, again, any open series you come to, you can also order them off the website beginning June 13th. The playmat, the dice bag, the deck box, the sleeves, any Legacy Open that you do come to, we'll be giving away 2 of these. So it's gonna be sweet. I'm looking forward to this. It's also gonna be happening again. The first time this happens at the Invitational for season 2 in Columbus. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited about that tournament too. I know, of course, you'll be there. Nick Miller, myself, Patrick Sullivan. I'm forgetting someone. Matthias. I'm sorry, Matthias. I'm forgetting you. He will also be there as well. So that tournament's gonna be sweet.
Oh yeah, gonna be a big tournament. A lot of crazy action, Magic being thrown down. Yeah. Invitational is always very, very exciting.
Okay, perfect. Anything change here as far as sideboarding is concerned?
I don't think so. Ryan didn't have a lot of options to begin with. I don't feel like he gained any information exactly.
Okay.
We didn't see any of his sideboard cards, I don't think. I kind of breezed through Duress going into game 2. That's a card that's not really good in this matchup, but Ryan doesn't necessarily know that.
Okay.
And I think he now has enough information to confidently dismiss Duress. So if he had those in, I would probably take them out.
Okay. A lot of, Brian does have spells, but I agree with you that, Duress isn't great against this deck. You look at the cards, 4 Mana Bloom, 4 Banishing Light, 2 Underworld Connections, maybe a third one after sideboard, some Abrupt Decay, a couple copies of Hero's Downfall, a couple copies of Elspeth. They're definitely targets.
Sure.
But I think the primary things that are good from Brian's deck are creatures.
Yes.
So I would definitely agree with you there, as both players are going to take a look at their opening hands here. And Brian does have a Temple Garden. You see a Thoughtseize, Eidolon of Blossoms, of course, he also has an Overgrown Tomb. So this feels like a snap keep.
Yep, I'm okay with this hand.
I think he might have a Mana Bloom in there as well. He's going to start with a Thoughtseize. He's going to begin this game at 16. Forsburg going to lay out his hand. You see a Pack Rat. There's also a Swamp, a Manic Influence, a Temple of Silence, a Desecration Demon, a Blood Baron, and a Thoughtseize of his own. So both players with some nice starters here.
Yeah, plenty of good targets for this Thoughtseize.
Brian, going to look at his hand. I think you can make a pretty solid argument for Thoughtseizing a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I agree. None of these other threats in particular are game enders on their own, I wouldn't think.
I think the days of Pack Rat being a game-ending threat on its own is over.
Well, it varies from game to game, I think. There are certainly, Brian took a look at his hand, and it certainly could have been the case that Pack Rat was a game ender.
Just seeing Brian's hand, he's got another copy of Thoughtseize as well, so I think he can go Thoughtseize. Ooh, he's going to go Thoughtseize taking Pack Rat. Okay. I was thinking he could go Thoughtseize taking Thoughtseize and then Thoughtseize taking Pack Rat if he wanted to, but this just means that he's okay with being Thoughtseize now.
Yeah. I think maybe Brian could be just assuming that Ryan is going to do it just what he did. Thoughtseize is Thoughtseize. Those Thoughtseizes are going to trade no matter what. It's just a question of who loses 2 life.
Sure. Well, here's the Thoughtseize from Forsburg. Brian Braun-Duin is going to lay out his hand. You see the Temple Guard. There's a Courser. There is the Thoughtseize that we talked about, along with Eidolon of Blossoms. He's going to spread that last one out, I promise. There's the Mana Bloom.
So I don't think we're going to see him take Mana Bloom again.
I want it, though.
Yeah.
I don't think he will this time either.
Sentences we didn't think we'd say. Probably not going to Thoughtseize Mana Bloom again.
Yep. We're 3 for 3.
Yeah. This is a tough decision, though. There's an argument for taking Mana Bloom. BBD can't really cast much with what he has.
No,
he's going to do it. All right.
We are so wrong here in the booth.
Yeah, no kidding.
We are so wrong.
Man, this is just the classic shock your Llanowar elf type thing, He's just I want to cut the mana out from under you.
Yeah. Thoughtseize you back. Picked up a land, did Forsburg. Desecration Demon and Blood Baron are the choices here.
I don't think we just take the one that's coming soonest, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Blood Baron is like kind of annoying. It's been problematic both games. It's not the end of the world. I don't know how good Demon is against Brian's deck.
Well, yeah, Demon's probably pretty bad against Brian's deck, actually. Brian has Banishing Lights, which we didn't see after board, so we maybe cut them.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
But he has Banishing Lights, Hero's Downfalls. Those are answers that can kill Demon but can't kill Blood Baron. And of course, you can feed the Demon for days once you start drawing all those extras with Eidolon.
Forsburg going to play Temple of Silence here. You saw Thoughtseize take care of the Demon. So BBD knows Forsburg's hand, which is just lands and a Blood Baron. Of course, that'll probably change.
Yeah, finds another Thoughtseize. No urgency casting that one.
No,
I think
not at all.
He will hold that until the turn before Blood Baron would come down, most likely.
Doomway Giant's top card of the deck, going to pass the turn back over to Forsburg, who does draw a card. He's going to separate the mana. He's going to play a Pack Rat and pass the turn.
Friend to you and me.
Doomway Giant, the draw. Eidolon of Blossoms on top. Brian has not found a land.
Yep.
Now he has to cast a Thoughtseize to take the Blood Baron. And this might be shifting into a Pack Rat game now.
Yeah. That Pack Rat is going to cause some trouble. We were disrespecting Pack Rat earlier, you know?
I would speak for yourself. I would never. I have lost so many games to that card. I would never do that.
It's just like, I think the days of Pack Rat being a game-ending threat are they set?
Brian, he turned over the top card of his deck, but it's not a land.
Yeah, it needed to be.
He's got a limited amount of time to get himself out of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like, does he have any time? I mean, like, what's fast enough here? If there's a land on top, he Eidolons and then Doomwakes.
It's got to be like running lands. Like, he's got to find. That's not it either.
No.
Like, he can play a Brain Maggot right now, and that's whatever.
Can you take lands with that card? You cannot,
Nope.
right? And I believe that is what Ryan is asking right now.
Ryan's just saying,
Right.
all I have is lands.
Yep.
I'm gonna discard a swamp to make a Pack Rat. This is a. I mean, I don't want to say it's over or anything, but this is like a pretty tough way to go out if you're Brian, because like his start was just great this game.
Oh, I know. It looks
absolutely great.
So good.
Yeah. If he finds land, he can chain off Eidolons, kind of do his thing that way. You see him kind of throw his Brain Maggot in his graveyard in disgust because he's just getting Pack Ratted out this game. There's another Doomway Giant, and he's just got to concede the game now. Ryan Forsburg is going to win this match over Brian Braun-Duin 2-1. Black-White mid-range is going to move on to 8-1, and it's